Hello. Glad everybody's back. Hope everybody's back. We had one person come in with their why as an additional training to therapy to help clients struggling with addictions, relationships, sleep, energy, and focus. That's their why. And then personally, our son struggled with severe OCD in high school and was helped tremendously by neurofeedback from a 90% footprint in his life down to 20%. We know it can help people. That is what we hope to provide. I think that's a very passionate why, and I think it does answer exactly why you're on this mission, this road to doing this with people. And of course, now you get to rewrite your why in FDA language, because we're not allowed to put it all of these disorders and conditions in there, but at the same time it's beautiful.
Yeah, that can absolutely be their why.
Well, it definitely,
but
yeah.
If you were to market it, we need to be careful with it.
Right. I'm sorry, I should have explained that a little better.
Yeah.
All right, so our lunch break went like this. Mark said, let me run out, drop off these systems that I have to at the post office, grab us a sandwich and come right back. I'm like, yeah, that sounds perfect. My daughter and I went down to the kitchen, started to let the dog out and everything, when all of a sudden we discovered a bird in our house. And we live in a really fun little area where we get to keep our door open most of the time so the little dog can go in and out on its own. And so we've never had a problem with a bird getting in the house, but oh my goodness gracious, did a bird get in the house. So I'm cleaning up bird little piddlies everywhere when Mark walks in the door, and our daughter hands him a sheet and says, okay, Dad, it's all yours. So we just now wolfed our sandwich down as fast as we could. So if you're hearing me kind of stammer and stutter, that's the reason why. Yeah, I have a little bit of a sandwich caught in my throat. Give everyone a chance to flourish. I love that. Give everyone a chance. Good. In a crazy, dysfunctional world, I want to assist people to be as sane and functional as we can, for you and me.
For all of us.
Good. Guys, I'm so glad you've kind of been thinking through your why. Here's another one. To help myself and my family for financial strength while helping to enable happiness and balance for others. Okay. And so I take from that the actual why is financially it makes sense, and you need to have some money coming in, whereas to enable happiness and balance gives people an opportunity, but I don't really see the passion in the why there. So you might need to define that just a little bit more for me. What is it about them getting happiness or balance that makes it your reason for happening, for your drive for doing this? Okay, I don't know if that, I hope that.
Yeah, kind of why did you pick this as a?
Yeah, why not massage therapy, or why not something totally different? There's a reason there. I'd say still search a little bit more, go a little deeper with it and try to find that little why. For me, getting my children on board, but also because I had this school and I knew there was more. There were people that needed that help that wasn't able to acquire language. I just knew it, and so that's where that passion came from. The idea that this other person has a son that already benefited so much from it, and now the population of people they're working with daily also is having these issues and struggles, and they want to help them get through that. There's a why. So think through what drives your passion. That's exactly what your why is what drives you to do something that other people won't do. Why you? And that's really what you're looking at. And truly, as Mark talked earlier about that business plan, everything circles around your why. When you're done, it's your goal. That's exactly why what you're doing. So, and now that why is going to come into play when we talk now about marketing and promotion. So let's go ahead and get started on that. And again, if I sound like I'm still swallowing a sandwich, excuse me. I'm so sorry. I had
Because I'm finding it just that
wolf
you're
it
talking
down.
a little fast.
Wolf it down as fast as I could. Okay. The logo, branding, here's just a couple of examples. You know, for Zengar, this is their logo, which also means we cannot use this. None of us can use that in our marketing because that's their logo. The next two are really our logo for Cognitive Connections. So what we did was we created our logo, which is here on the right, and we had very serious thought as we went into it. We liked the idea of CC because sometimes we like to abbreviate it as CogCon, so CC, but the stick down through the middle to us grounded us, made people, you know, we would support them. It's a strong sign there. We have a little spark as though it's a neuron. And underneath it, our little subtext was one neuron at a time. And really what we did was this. You know, I was a cognitive rehabilitation therapist, and I say was because now that I'm working for Zengar full time, we don't have an office right now. And I don't know how or when we'd ever have time to do one right now. So we rent out systems, we sell systems, we help people, we mentor other trainers to help them. You know, so we have kind of still a little bit of a private thing going on with mentoring people. But in terms of actually having come into our office and sit down and let us work with you, I no longer do that. But as a cognitive rehabilitation therapist, what I did was a lot of developmental testing to find out what area was impacted, how much one area was able to do over another area, and then created a plan that I could follow through and help them learn skills that they were not able to currently do. Now, that's very much a medical model. I mean, I figured out where they were, I created a protocol or a plan, and then at the end, I would retest again to see whether or not they made strides. Okay? This was something other than Neuroptimal. This was my cognitive rehabilitation therapist hat that I wore. This was Neuroptimal. Now, I mixed these, but I tried hard to not do them on the same pages. And if I were to do that now, it would be totally different. Well, one, I'd move probably further away from this. It's just not necessary. But two, I would definitely make sure that the websites were separated very, very, very carefully. And mostly because we are a general wellness device, and it's really important for FDA for us to not mix the languages. So, but these were our branding. These were our logos. It gave people, you know, I mean, you look at cognitive, you know, anyone who understands that word knows it's the head and learning and brain, you know, the connections, just trying to make it work, connecting things so that they worked. It said what we wanted it to say, and it did exactly what we wanted it to do. The logo, you know, was very deliberate, intentional. All right. And Neuroptimal does the same thing, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, it's in the brain, and we're monitoring it, right? We're looking at that. So the logos and the branding is really important to describe what it is that you want people to know you do. And that comes back to your why, of course. Mark and I have spent thousands of dollars marketing, probably a lot more than that, but trying to market different offices at different times in our history. You know, when I think back on all the offices we've probably had, you know, 10 or 12 different offices in different locations with different technicians and so forth. The way, in the beginning, we thought marketing in the little local newspapers, trying to get magazines, all of that was really important. In the beginning, it was 20 years ago. Now I'm going to tell you, there is really, you can market for dirt cheap. You really can get your name out there for very, very, very little money. But what you have to do is to have intention and know what you're doing. Your business should have every single one of these social media accounts, every one of them. And your business should be able to tag it to where when you put it into your Facebook account, it populates to everybody's, or into your Twitter account, it populates to all of them. So there's a couple of things that you really, really, really want. One is you really want people to know your name, your branded name. Two, you want people to give you their email address. So you need to gather email addresses as much as you can. That does not mean they're going to be your client. What it does mean is that they are going to be one of the legs to your client. So every single time you throw out some information that is important information, and the stronger your email base grows, the more people will see this. On my Facebook accounts, I have 3 of them. 2 of them are at 5,000 apiece. 5,000 people on both of my Facebook accounts. And then on the business page that I have, I'm up to about 12,000. Now, those are maybe some of the same people, and maybe some of the same people that are on the Twitter account, but the Twitter account's another 7,000 to 8,000 people. And so each one of these is populating my message over and over and over again. Now, it's not always to say that my message is the best message to get out, but I try to get something out on a regular basis, even if it's just, one of the, I can't remember what I've posted the last couple of days, but they're, even if they're just a little wellness saying, keep your brain, or tell your story in a positive way, or, something like that. Somehow your name got out again. And as soon as they see your name, whether it's Cognitive Connections or Lisa DeLong or whatever it is, as soon as your name gets out again, they're going to start recognizing it. Oh yeah, that's that doctor that keeps sticking this stuff in front of my face. Like it or not, all of a sudden, one of these days, they're going to send it off to somebody else. Look what she just wrote. Or they retweet it, they recirculate it. It gets out again to all of their friends. Now, you can do this in lots of different ways. One way is to just do it the way I said, just do it to the people that you have. Another way is for me to look at, let's see here, Daisy. And I say, Daisy, I've got a blog article I've just written. I would like to give this to you to send out to all of your friends from me. And in return, I'll send out a blog that you do with your name on it to all of my people. Now, let's just say Daisy only has, in total, she has 500 people. To me, that's 500 people that probably I would never see. I'd never get, because they're not on my Facebook. They're not on my WordPress. They're not in Twitter. They're not in any of the social media that I have. And they're not on my email list. So, of course, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write a blog for all these people anyway. I might as well try to make something happen with Daisy. Daisy, in exchange, is going to write an article for me. And I'm going to populate it to all of her people. It's going to have her email address in it. It's going to have her phone number. It's going to have her website. It's going to have her full name, her business name. So, oh my gosh, she just got it out to 40 to 50,000 people just by doing that. And if she did it to more than just me, she did that with any other NeurOptimal user, now you're growing. You are really, really, really growing. So we really, social media wise, I'm going to say I've probably sold maybe 3 systems off of Facebook, which is not a huge amount. But when you consider you're an ambassador and you're making a percentage off of each one of those, that's more than I would have made before. It pays for all my paid marketing. on any of these. You know, if I decide to do a paid marketing blitz, usually I spend, you know, $100, maybe $200, and that will go for 2 to 3 weeks and hit, you know, anywhere from 75 to 100,000 people. So, you know, I do that once in a while, and maybe once every 6 to 8 months. I've rented systems from there, probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 systems, and probably for 2 to 3 months. So that means that each one of those systems rent anywhere from $700 to $950 a month. And so I got all of that income from just being able to put my name out there that often. This is absolutely one of the best ways for you to get your name started and to get it out there. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. There's all sorts of different programs like Constant Contact or Robly or MailChimp or something, so that when you write one email, it will, I think they call that propagate. It will propagate it to lots of different people, places at different times. So you can set it up to where this is my introductory email. Anytime a new client starts, I want this email sent out to them. And it will automatically, you put it on that list, and it will automatically start sending out whatever emails you have in order 10 days apart or 20 days apart, or however you set it up. You can also do it to where you've classified your email lists in a way that is potential clients, current clients, past clients, therapists or educators, or you can set it up in any way you want. Then when you start a series of email marketing, what you can do is you can write, you know, 5 emails that you're going to send out every 10 to 15 days. And all it does is, you know, let me introduce Neuro-Optimal to you. This is what it's all about. Then the second one goes out and says, you know, let me tell you, one of the things that we're going to be doing is offering a demo day. I'd love to have all of you come. And remember when we talked about how Neuro-Optimal does this? Well, I forgot to mention to you, it also does this. And you can then each email make it sound like you are sending it only to that one person and really personalized. And that is what people start getting interested in, is when you personalize and make it something that's important to them. You know, I know we haven't talked in the past, but you know, who doesn't have issues with optimization? Let's talk about this for a moment, because how many days out of the week do we go where we really feel like we woke up on the wrong side of the bed? Well, this is a process that will help you through that, you know, or whatever. When you can talk to people one-on-one and in that manner, you've won them over. They want to know more. When we go and we start writing these really super professional system, you know, really professional emails, those are good for some populations, but for the most part, people are going to either trash them before they read them, or they're not going to look at them for any length of time. Use your highlighter, use your red words, use, you know, bold, use, you know, different size fonts, you know, italicize some areas where you're quoting something, you know, make it a relatively short email anyway. We know people will not spend more than 3 minutes reading an email, period. We know that. We also know that if any of the vocabulary is over a 5th grade level, odds are they're not going to spend any time on it. And this is all sad. It kills me. It just breaks my heart. But it's information that's important to know. Make it short, make it sweet, you know, make it enticing, and do it on a semi-regular basis, because it really will bring people into you. And you can make it informational. You know, I saw that next week so-and-so is coming to town. They're going to talk about the brain and brain development in children. Come on down. I'd love to meet you. You know, it doesn't have to always be about you. If it's informational and you're giving away information, people like that. You know, Mark and I've been part of a variety of different things, whether it's Brendan Bouchard and his, you know, business process, or whether it's Tony Robbins and his business process. You know, these very big inspirational people. You know, one of the things they always say is give till it hurts. Now, that doesn't mean give away your services for your NeuroOptimal process. They never mean that. But what they do mean is write a little ebook. You know, it can be very easy, all about what you really know about. And put that out there. Free ebook when, you know, you give me your email on Facebook, or, you know, just a little something. Create something that you can give away. Mark and I have created music for the media player on NeuroOptimal. We've done, we've created informational classes, 1 day informational thing, just a little bit like this business course. You know, come on down and learn all about NeuroOptimal and how it works and what we do. And, you know, the first 5 tickets are free. So, you know, you do something like that. The rest of them are $20 or, you know, something like that. You can do all sorts of things that are going to give away information to people that are really important. You know, one time I offered a functional sign language course. And with that functional sign language, I invited all of my parents from my autistic kids that I was seeing. I said, come on down. You know, we'll have a babysitter for the children. Just come on down and take this course. I'm just going to videotape it. I videotaped a 1-hour course. Every single time they came in, we did about 6 of them. Maybe it was 8 of them, but whatever it was, they came in, they did the course with me. I then turned around and sold and or gave away these functional sign language DVDs. So it was just listening to me talk about sign language and how to use it with children that are language impaired and blah, blah, blah. So you can create all sorts of different things that people want. They're struggling with, they need. And it doesn't have to be about NeuroOptimal. But what it does have to be about is content that is something that somebody wants. And when you get that out there, you get their email address in exchange, then you get to tell them about NeuroOptimal. So there's a lot of value in an email list. They are not always your clients, but they are almost always a leg to your client. They're going to pass on your email, they're going to pass on your information, they're going to support you to somebody else. Somehow, some way, the more people that you have on your email list, the more clients you're going to end up seeing. And the more clients you end up seeing, the more valuable, oops, didn't mean to do that, the more valuable your email list turned out to be. So you always have to have a way for them to opt in. You must have permission to be able to stay in touch. So when they give you your email address for that free ebook or free whatever it is that you've created for them, and maybe that's just a list of things to do when you're stressed out. You know, I mean, it can be anything. Make it look really sharp, and you know, different breathing techniques, different postures to sit in so that you're getting the best air and breath. You know, just a variety of different things. But whatever it is, make it look really, really, really good. Put the time and the energy and the effort into making it something real special. But also, when they sign up, you need to make sure that you get permission to send them something later. That is really important, and people are really cracking down on that also. So just in a little, you know, subscript underneath, just make sure that they understand that when they give you your email, that they're giving you permission to send an email to them. All right, and then that way you go directly to their email. Never sell your email list. But you can always, and yeah, you're right so much. Thank you so much for that. Someone says, and give them a way to opt out also. Once you have sent them an email, you always have to have an unsubscribe or opt out option on there. And thank you. I did not mention that, but you do. That does not have to be on your For them to opt in, that does not have to be listed there, but it does have to be legally listed on the first email that you ever send them. From then on, you have to give them that option. So, but then you can always, don't ever sell your email list, but you can always invite other people to create something for your email list. And then those people, you send it out, and if those people want to get a hold of that person, they have the option of being able to do that. So you really want to make sure that you use that email list as best you possibly can. Make sure that it's targeted to the people that you're really seeing, so that you keep them, so that they're not going to be opting out. If you know they've for whatever reason signed in from your free list for stress management, then put them in a category that shows you that that's what they were interested in. Don't send them information about tinnitus or something totally different, when that's not what they signed in for. Now, you might be able to mention that other thing in an email, because anything else like tinnitus or something like that always goes along with stress management. But it doesn't mean that you want to start sending them everything on tics or tic syndrome or something like that. So, keep them separated if you can. Remember that their emails are personal. And if you get a reputation for giving them out or selling them or doing something like that, it's not worth what you would not get in return. It just doesn't make it worth it. And just remember that your email list is very, very, very valuable. These are really people that can really help you. Contact as many people as you can on a regular basis, and it's those social media formats that are going to get those out. They really will. But remember that they're not equated to actual clients. They might be, but when you think about the fact that your email is international, you're going to have people from Israel that are contacting you and that are listening to you. Odds are they're not going to come in for sessions, but they really seriously might have an aunt in the Boston area where you live, and they contact them and say, hey, why don't you go check this out? You were complaining about having some migraine headaches. They might be able to help you, and all of a sudden it may equate to something. So let's talk about how you find your actual clients, because I know this is really, if we're going to have a difficult time with the business, this is probably where it is. If we don't have a plan to go find these people, then this is probably a problem. So I always say, look at your own personal background first. Look at who you are. Look at what your honest to God knowledge base is. And that's where you want to start. For me, my first degree is deaf education, music therapy, neuropsychology, neurocognitive processing. So it's all been kind of education related. It's working with mostly children, but language disorders. That's my specialty, and probably started all that because of my auditory processing stuff, but that's where I come from. That's my history. So for me to go out and try to get somebody that's an alcoholic, that's outside of my realm of knowledge. It's not that I wouldn't take anyone with, any addictive behaviors, and actually have had a great deal of success in that area. But it wasn't what I went after, and especially not in the beginning. So stick to, even though you may want to go out and help all these veterans, if that's not your specialty, don't go there yet. Stay close to home. Stay with people, with the group of people that you know, because odds are you're going to be able to access those people faster. Now, I can tell you, with every office we've ever started, never once have I only gotten the people that I started with, ever. Immediately somebody else will go tell somebody else, and then it just takes off. You get every disorder under the sky, everything that it just changes. You get everybody, which is, to me, awesome. It means everybody wants this system, and they all see value in it. Well, if it's able to help them with this, then it can help me with this, you know, and I love that. But start at home, start where you know, and you can get in the door. So, and start with people that you love working with that population anyway, or that group of people. That's where you actually are going to go, and you're going to do this in a couple of different ways. I personally would start it with awareness. I would start by going out and going to a group of people, or group of what do they call that, Mark? When you see, this is where my auditory processing really gets me, guys. When support group, that's what I want to say. Support groups. Go to a support group. You know, if it's, for me, if it's people with special needs, then I'm going to get these parents that have special needs. I'm going to pull them together, and or go to one of their meetings, get permission to go to one of their meetings. Go to the library. The library is a perfect place. You're not going to sign anybody up. You're doing a free awareness seminar. You're just telling people what it's about. You're taking the system with you. Make a poster. Actually show them, have a poster behind you, one of those stand-up posters. How much did that cost us, Mark, when we made those stand-up posters? Do you know?
Oh, they were just about $100 a piece.
So you've got $100 in one that, you pull open, you stand it up behind you, you've got a long table, you've got a real nice little tablecloth that you're going to put your stuff on, you've got a brochures, and you've got maybe a stand-up stand that has a flyer in it or something like that. Underneath, you can even do a drawing, a giveaway for a free course, or a free, your free ebook, or maybe you're even going to give away 3 free sessions. You're going to do something that people are going to sign up their email address for, right? Because you always are going to do something that people are going to sign up their email address for. That's just who you are and what you do. So you're always going to try to give away something so that you get an email address. That's called awareness. You're not asking anybody to sign up. You're just not even entertaining that. Now, I can almost guarantee somebody will, but that's not what you're doing this for. You're doing it for, just want them to know what you're doing these days. Then you do something else called education. Now, education is a little different. Awareness can be really more about neurofeedback, about relaxation, about, how to take care of your body. It can be a little bit of a combo type effect. Education is very directed to Neuroptimal and to what your process is. So my own personal opinion on that, brain parties are the most effective way of getting people to come in for education. And we're going to go into deep brain party detail in a little while. So I'm just going to highlight right now that it's just a time when you invite like one friend that is an educator, and you say to that one friend who's an educator or a therapist or whatever, I'd love to be able to share this with 3 or 4 of your friends, maybe even 5 of your friends. Here, would you want to pick a date and we'll get together, I'll do it at your house, and let's have a little brain party. The brain party it's just real fun. Maybe take some, nice dark red wine. You take some almonds, chocolate covered almonds, or dark chocolate, or you take, blueberries and a few brain food. And you then are going to very specifically, maybe play a couple of games, but mostly what you're doing is you're educating people on Neuroptimal, how it works, what it does. You're not asking them to sign up. That's not what you're doing. You're educating them on it. So educating them means that you're telling them the details of how it works, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and so forth. Maybe a personal presentation is another way. You go to a luncheon with other therapists. You know, almost every city has a monthly gathering of therapists or some way of getting together with a population of people. Maybe it's at a church, maybe it's, you know, whatever, but you gather with a group of people and you do a personal presentation to them on Neuroptimal. And that's all you're doing. You can do demos at that time if you want to, but you're going to really, really, really share the in-depth part of it. And then the last is direct marketing, and it's with the intention of signing somebody up. Now, how that looks in terms of how you do this in a month, because here's the other deal is that, you know, we're in a profession that once we're full, it makes it real hard to do any of the rest of this stuff, right? So you have to build it into your monthly way of working. So you're thinking of awareness, education, and marketing. Now, the way you start that is with intimate friends, like family, personal friends. Those are really friends of friends. You don't really know them very well. You may not know them at all, but it's your friend who's bringing them in. Then you do it as a friendly thing, which would be people that you don't know at all. You're just being a nice, friendly person by sharing with them. And then you do this with visitors, which would be people that kind of out of the blue heard about the fact that you're doing a presentation, so they're coming in. And then you do it with a community, and that would be like at a fair, you know, a health fair or something where you don't know them, you probably will never see them again. You're just, you know, as a community awareness or community education thing, you're actually doing this. Okay, so you're thinking of those 5 different groups of people at the same time that you're going to do this for awareness, education, and marketing. And this is where you have to think this through. Awareness, you know, I probably do those on a monthly basis. Education, I try to do those every few weeks. Who and how can I go out and educate somebody? You know, how am I going to get by with doing that? And then marketing is direct one-on-one, calling back people that have called you because somebody heard about you. You left your brochures someplace, somebody picked it up. You're going to go talk to them personally. It also could be all of your new client consultations, because it's directly working on trying to find and get somebody to come in the door right now. Okay? So this to me, and I've got a PDF, and I'm sorry it's not in here right now, but I've got a PDF that we can send you that is a reminder of all of these and how to do that. So I want to keep moving forward, but does anyone have any questions on this and how you get in and what you do to find clients in this way? You know, under awareness and education, seriously, libraries are a great place. Put up a flyer, you know, 3 weeks to 4 weeks ahead of time. Let them see that. You can even use that kind of sign that has a little pull-off tag at the bottom, so they have your name and their phone number, and you know they can sign up that way if you want them to, and or they can email you at this address saying that they'd like to come. So you're taking RSVPs, those kind of things. Then you've got their email, and you can then ask them if it's okay to put in. Someone else is saying you can join the Chamber of Commerce. That's an excellent way to do it. I tell you, I did the Chamber for a little bit and did their really 6 o'clock in the morning breakfast meetings and all of that. It is a great awareness tool. You do not get a lot of clients that way, but people do start knowing about you. And if they give you or allow you to pass out your brochures at the Chamber, that's not a bad thing either, or put them in a package for new people that are moving to your area. You know, that's another really nice thing. You know, when it comes to education, you may even want to buy one of those nice big vinyl signs and put it in the indoor sports arena, the indoor soccer place, you know, that's all on head injury or on, you know, peak performance for the sport, or, you know, something like that. That's another thing that you can do for kind of an educational type thing. It doesn't always have to be a presentation. It could be something that really is just like that. It's just getting the education out to the mass in your area. Again, I want to emphasize the importance of one-on-one organic growth. This is the way we do it. This is the way we did it. And I don't know, Mark, I don't know that we ever really kept track, but I would probably say within, 6 to 9 weeks, we probably would have a good number of people enrolled in the office. Between 3 and 6 months, we were probably very, close to being full, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
it doesn't, when you think of it in terms of when clients really start to feel a difference, of course, here again, we can never set this expectation for clients, but we know that for the most part, that our history would say clients start to tell us that they're feeling some sort of a shift somewhere in the range of 7 to 12 sessions or so. So you get your first and don't take that as set in stone. Some people report changes in 1 or 2 sessions. Some people it takes 20 plus, but on average, kind of in 7 to 12, where they come in and they just say, dang, I just had the best night's sleep ever, or this or that. I mean, you get this kind of almost an emotional response because something shifted in them. So,
and we're not saying that you ever say that to them.
Right.
What he's saying, though, is in that amount of time.
Just thinking through the numbers that our history would say, you start a couple people today, they do 2 sessions a week. So in somewhere from 4 to 6 weeks, they're going to hit that magic spot where they're going to come in and say, dang, and they're going to, at that point, they're going to start telling their neighbors, and they're going to start, their husband's going to start to know, or their spouse or whatever, and whatever. So you just get 4 or 5 weeks into these first few clients, and then, they have their dang moment, and all of a sudden 1 or 2 of their friends or associates or soccer parents or whatever want to talk to you. And it takes kind of this 4 or 5 week almost exponential growth. And at the same time, you're thinking through, well, what can I do to help bring those people in? Well, great, tell that person, tell your neighbor that
Or have an information night, or
say, boy, I'd love to talk to them more about it or something, and here's a $50 voucher off of your next ones if they sign up, or here's however you're gonna kind of guerrilla market yourself through that, and you'll be really amazed at how quick that will exponentially grow just from the first few clients.
I love that. I think I'm gonna put that in the class. The dang shift.
Dang
Shift.
A lot of A's and then like 7 dots after.
Yeah. So of course, one of the things you have to do is to get comfortable with how you're going to describe NeurOptimal. That is key. It's prime. And the more you do these, the more comfortable and confident you're going to get in describing the process. For us, when we sit down with somebody and we talk to them, we're going to share the fact that NeurOptimal is a training process. And any and all of you that know me know that I do a lot with metaphors. People understand them, the analogies, they get them, they can relate to them. And so, I'm constantly relating this process to learning to read, learning to potty train, learning to play the violin, learning how to knit. All of these things are a process. And it's really important from my standpoint to set that expectation up for that individual. Now, I know we're not supposed to set an expectation, that we don't want people to expect anything, but what we're talking about is setting the scenery so that they're not going to come back to you and say, but I haven't made this change, or I don't feel any difference, or so it's really important from the very get-go to first make sure that they understand that they're learning how to do something new within their electrical activity in their brain. This isn't a fast process, but it's an effective one. And what's more, it's a long-lasting one. You never have to go back and redo all those sessions ever again. I mean, unless you've had a stroke or some really, really weird out there bizarre thing, even if you've had a traumatic event, typically what's happens is that you go back and you do a handful of sessions and you're right back to where you were before. You're just dealing with things so much easier and better. So when I describe the process, I usually will say, I'm a trainer that works with the way the brain processes information. And I know and understand that the way the brain is able to communicate with itself is by learning to look at the differences that's going on around it, out in the environment, inside, everything. That's when it changes. That's when something shifts, is when you're looking at a change. Then it decides what it's going to do or not do. And what I do is present that information to you in terms of a neurofeedback system. And the feedback means that you're watching, you're listening, it's then interrupting, and your brain then is going to make some changes because of the differences. I change it up every time. It's never the same way every single time. And I also change it up depending on the people I'm talking to. If I'm talking to a child or a teenager and I'm trying to talk them into doing it, I'll start with things like, is school difficult for you? What part of it's hard? If I could make it any easier, do you want to try? And I kind of put it back onto their shoulders, but I also explain, how easy it is when, you're watching a TV show and you're seeing something that's real exciting that you've never seen before, and all of a sudden you learn it just so fast, because you're playing the video game or because you're doing this or that, and, they understand that. And this helps everything become that way. You are going to be able to think in that way now if I can help you. And I swap it up depending on who I'm talking to and what their needs are and all of that. Someone comes to me and they say, I can't sleep. I know. I have that feeling. I know what that feels like. And I'm sure that every one of you guys know that feeling. So the first thing I say to them is, wow, that's gonna be really, really hard. If you could sleep, what differences would it make in your life? And they tell me, I'd wake up feeling better. I'd wake up feeling blah, blah. Because you know what? They have felt feeling good before. They know what they're supposed to feel like. They know they're not feeling now. So they are noticing the differences. And that's what I'll point out to them, is that you must have slept good at some point then, because you know what it would feel like to sleep good. So you notice the differences, right? So let's think about if I could help you with a training system that could show you those differences, and it would reteach that electrical activity in the brain so that you could have that change again. Would that be meaningful to you? Well, you're darn tootin' it would be. They want to sleep, right? They want to get back to it. And so immediately we can meet up together. I relate to it. They understand what I'm talking about, and we're able to really explain the process. Sit down and let me hook you up and let me show you what it's about. And if you decide you want to go on, perfect. If not, then don't worry about it. At least you'll now know. Take my brochure, my card, explain it to somebody else. Let them make sure they know about it too. And so you're really always, 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 trying to get awareness, trying to get education out there, and trying to do it in as many different ways as you can. It will pay off big, really, really, really big. You do not have to have somebody walk into your office and say, I want to start this. It's not going to happen, guys. You will not have, very rarely would you ever have? I shouldn't say it's not going to happen, but you're not going to happen. That's not going to happen very often. You have to share with people what it's about. You have to get out there. You have to let people know and be aware. And you got to really start thinking through, where is that? Is it your child's school, your grandchildren's school? Is it the friend of the massage therapist down the road? Is it your indoor sports facilities? Where can you go to share what you know that you're passionate about?
I just had a follow up on the getting the word out and getting the knowledge to the people, and just to share the way that we used to always do it.
Oh, good.
In the every time we would make contact with a prospect, however that prospect came to us, whether it was from a referral, whether it was from, online somehow, whether they just found us on the Neuroptimal Find a Trainer page, I don't care. But every time we had that initial conversation with them, we would work as hard as we can to get them in for what we called a new client consultation. And we would offer them basically a 60 to 90 minute consult. And, just explaining, we would tell them, it's a lot to discuss, and I'm happy to set aside some time, and we'll spend 60 to 90 minutes with you for free. Please, please come in, and we'd set up our new client consultation. And in that consultation, we'd basically go through 3 steps. Okay, what brought you here? Okay, here's what we do. Here's how the two can work together.
Now, do you want me to show them this while you're talking about going through what we
Sure,
would
if
do?
you want to, that's fine. And the great part about that, as you all know, having started this, hey, I'm in the picture too. I should move over a little bit.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa. That's Mark.
Hello.
But
the great part about that is they understand that it really is a process, and we're willing to give them as much information as they want. And so we'd walk them through that process, and Carol Merrill here with the flip chart, we devised this little 3-ring binder that we could flip over and tell them all about Neuroptimal and all of the welcome and all that kind of stuff. And it really took us to the point of keeping us on track too, because many of these would take a real kind of a random walk through the time. But the amazing part about this was that after that 60 to 90 minutes, they knew us, they were comfortable with us, they knew what neurofeedback was, they knew what Neuroptimal was, they knew that it was a training process, not a treatment process. They knew that we were going to track their symptoms and not require the computer system to tell them they're better or
absolutely
not. And so all the groundwork was really laid for a very easy progression through the sessions. Okay, so
we always started with education and awareness first.
Right.
They learned all about the program before we ever introduced any of our brochures, any of our, we taught them first what neurofeedback was, what Neuroptimal was, and then we started giving them their own little brochure or their own little folder that they would take home that had all the information in it that we'd already gone over in our little flip book. We put in here the information that we thought was most important, and you can get that from the Neuroptimal site, how it works and so forth, so that then they could take it home and talk to their spouse or whoever else, their parents, whoever was going to help them, pay for it. Then they had that with them. So this was really invaluable to them. It gave them all the information they needed. It reminded them of it. And then we would send the email out that said, thank you for coming in today. And then another email went out 10 days later. We would love to have you back in the office again. Have you thought about this? We talked about, the benefits for this. And so it always was just kind of a reinforcement of what we just did.
And the amazing part with that is getting them to come in, getting to spend that time with them, really tied them to us, and we truly had a 90 to 95% close rate of signing those people up for sessions, for them becoming our clients. So when you weigh your cost of attracting new clients, 1 hour of your time to sign up a client that probably has a $3,000 value to you, it is pretty cheap marketing.
Absolutely.
And you're playing to a group, you're playing to a person that is obviously interested in what you have to offer, instead of throwing money at just the mass public that may or may not.
And we also found that if you're going to give something away, that's the time that you give it away, is in that 60 to 90 minutes that you take with them to make sure they understand the process. We found that by using that time wisely and really educating them, they did not expect anything else later. They didn't expect this, to feel different after the first session or the second or third or fourth. They never went there. They didn't expect us to turn around and show them what was on the screen or what we were doing or how we were doing it, or show me the progress stuff, because we took the time up front to explain the way the process actually works and why we do what we do. They did not sign up under any other pretense than what we told them in the beginning. They really understood it. So if you're going to give away your time, that's the time to do it. We always gave 60 to 90 minutes for every
and
new
it probably
consultation.
saved 60 to 90 minutes out of that relationship going forward,
At least.
of them asking for that stuff that we
At
already
least.
told them that we're not going to provide them. There's a question here about the brochures that Zengar has. Yeah, there's a place on the back of those that you could put a label on. They're actually going through a rewrite right now with the new
I don't know if
FBA
the
thing,
newest one is up there yet or not. I think it might be, but I'm not positive of that. But they did. If they haven't gone through it yet, they took it off. So if it's up there, then it's the newest one. And yeah, you can put your label on the back. You can't really print them with printed on there, I don't believe. I think you have to.
The ones you're
have a
talking about, you
sticker.
buy them 100 at a time, the
Yeah.
experience brochures, and they're redoing that. There's another question on there about is this information available in PASS? There's loads of information available in PASS, and you can go in and you can print out certain pieces of it. You can put it in a folder to send them home. We're real big. Here again, we're not the only way to do it, but we've always been real big on making sure the client has something in their hand
To go home with.
when they go home.
Yeah.
At a minimum, a way to contact us back, but something to share about what is neurofeedback, what is Neuroptimal, what is this process, what is the, because sometimes you don't have the decision maker there, and sometimes, in 60, 90 minutes, as you can imagine with the class we're sitting through today, you can throw out a lot of information in 60, 90 minutes to someone who doesn't really even know what neurofeedback is, and they have shut down at some point in their ability to absorb anymore. So sending them home with that reminder and something to review just keeps you active in their mind.
Yeah. Good.
What is PASS?
Oh, really? PASS is, I don't know if you've taken a course, any of the courses yet. If you have not, you definitely want to. When you purchased your system, you should have gotten sign-ins to PASS. PASS is the, because you haven't bought a system yet.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. You know what? We should probably talk. But PASS is, we should probably make a time and just sit and talk. But the PASS is the back end of the community community page.
Web
It's
page.
it's a web page.
Membership only
yeah.
page that has a
Came with your
lot of
system.
forums, forms, documents, webinars, and things that just the members only have access to. When you buy your system, you'll get 6 months access to that for free in called Pass Preview. And that includes support on your equipment and loaners, and just there's a whole big area to that. The people who've already bought understand that. So we can talk with you more after the class if you want. Then after 6 months, you pay a membership fee to continue with that.
Yeah.
All those benefits.
Yeah, and we should talk about that with you so that you feel real comfortable with it. Yeah, and she'd tell you every single thing about it. You're right, ask your representative, because she really, she's a wise one, and she'll be able to help you through that process. So, okay. So places to advertise and locations to visit, we've kind of gone through a handful of those. I definitely love the brain party idea. It works really well. I have a woman in Japan who uses brain parties. She does them monthly, and it is just surprising. She started out with like maybe 4 or 5 people that came. Now every single month she has gotten anywhere from 12 to 18 people. I mean, it's just incredible. And she just lets the people that came the time before know that she's having a brain party. They're all welcome to come back if they want to. They can, bring a friend along with them, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So we're gonna get to that here in just 2 seconds, and we're gonna talk about a brain party. But in the meantime, we have a PowerPoint that you're welcome to use. It's called Getting to Know NO. Use the social media as much as you can. Provide the presentations if you can or want to. Look at support groups. A lot of online support groups will not let you advertise online, but you could very easily get some of these people and back channel, try to let them know that you're providing this service, and if anybody would like to come to a free presentation or something that, again, make it awareness, make it education, and they usually always will let you do that. Lots of churches have support groups meeting at their facilities, so look at those, check those out, make sure that you go to those, or set up a time that you can go and speak to them. Okay, we're switching the subject just a little bit. I thought the brain party one was right here, but I guess it must be down the road a little bit more. So what should you actually invest in for your NeuroOptimal business? Mark, do you want to kind of go over this with them?
Oh, sure. This is just.
And we also want to talk about what support you'll get from Zengar, and what kind of additional support you could get if you actually had a rep instead, along with the Zengar process.
And we most of you have the systems that, besides one, I guess, you have the option of either the tablet or the Surface Book 2. Okay, the tablet is what's shown here, and most of the systems sold are those now. Surface Book 2 is a little more laptop-like, but the screen disconnects from the keyboard so that it can function a little bit more like a tablet. So it's just a $500 increase in price to go to that little larger screen, but a little bit heavier, so portability becomes an issue. From the prior screen, what do you need to buy to start your business? As far as the NeuroOptimal is concerned, and as most of you know, everything you need is in that box to start. Okay, what many people will do is not get the monitor with their Pro systems, that external client monitor. But what we used to always do is use a big screen TV as our monitor. We felt that was really a little more all-encompassing. So we'd always delete the monitor from the order and just use big screen TVs. course, you need, the phone, some way for people to get a hold of you. We always operated from cell phones, and always meaning in recent days, but since cell phones came out, we operated on cell phones, which is great because sharing that with clients, they can text when they're running late. You can even see it if you're in the middle of a session, what's going on there. Always have a set of extra sensors, at least a set of extra sensors. The Pro systems all come with 2 sets anyway. As you go into, as you get into that second set, always order another one. I know they're kind of expensive, just have sitting around $125 a set. But, if something goes wrong with one and you have to cancel a day or 2 of clients because you don't, your sensors are bad and you've called everybody that's close and they don't have one either. Just keep an extra set around. Keep the paste handy. We used to always keep probably more paste than normal in our offices, but we always had a lot of rentals out, and we always had people that had their own systems that were close to us that would run out of paste and come buy a tube from us at a time. So the bottom line is you don't want to run out of paste while you're trying to see clients. You've got to have enough brochures. You've got to have enough of the printed media and business cards to go around. Some of you may not be aware of the Zengar survey that's on the website. You can buy it in a spiral bound, nice product, or you can download the whole thing out of Pass.
And just put it into a folder if you'd like.
Put it in a 3-ring binder if you want. But the survey is basically every few years they survey all of the neurooptimal providers and saying, have you seen this in your clients? What's the experience with this? And
what's the average time that people come in and stay, and so, just a variety of things.
Here again, we have to be careful how we use it with clients as far as setting expectations. But even the data in that is a broad range, and it helps drive home the fact that you can't really predict how many sessions they'll need. See, here's this wide range of people's responses. So some way to clean up, baby wipes, non-alcohol baby wipes for the head, maybe alcohol wipes for the sensors. I personally really like the idea of alcohol on the sensors, just sanitary wise. You're going to take them off somebody's head and put them on somebody else's. And then nice comfortable chair for the client to be in, whether that's a recliner, a zero gravity kind of recliner, or just a nice office chair if they're sitting up at the desk doing kind of tabletop activities. When I talked about alcohol wipes, those of you who have been in our classes before, we always talk about the earbuds and the need for those. Earwax is kind of a gross thing to swap between clients, and earbuds are kind of hard to clean sometimes with just an alcohol wipe. And there's actually some things that get
bacterial infections
that can be transmitted with using the same earbuds. Our personal way of doing it was normally big screen TV with speakers and just kind of out in the room. Where we used earbuds, we'd ask the people to bring in their own, or we'd keep a set specifically for them. Another point on earbuds is use good earbuds. There's a dramatic difference between the way it sounds with cheap convenience store earbuds versus nice Panasonic earbuds like the ones that come with it. So if you are going to be supplying earbuds to people, just get some good ones. Don't get the $1.99 ones.
Someone's asking about, would headphones be better?
Headphones, will still get paste and things all over them. And then it's the difficulty of comfortably putting those
Foam.
those
Yeah.
foam things over top of 3 different sensors where they're hooked to your ears and getting that comfortable. You know, it will all work. It's just, you know, what works for you and what you can keep clean. You know, I know Val loves the idea of the earbuds and you know, being that, but it works out in the air. You know, we covered this in the class too. Probably they all run together after a little bit, but you should know that, you know, there's not a direct correlation between the left earbud and the left sensor, the neurofeedback that's being provided. It's being provided in mass. It's not, you know, there's not something coming into the left earbud that's not in the right, or vice versa, depending on the cortical activity. The information is in general, okay? So you can do it with speakers. You can do it with the earbuds reversed. They just have to be able to hear it. So that's just a little technical thing.
Yep. Okay, so how can you diversify without going off the road? You know, I think this is something that is really important. I think sometimes people get into Neuroptimal and they think, oh my gosh, this is so cool. You know, I think maybe I'll go ahead and buy a float tank, and maybe I'll buy and they start going through all these different things to create this great big help yourself type you know, healing center. And what they don't really recognize is that every single one of those tools have to be marketed in a very direct, specific way. You know, to market all of it is very difficult. You really need to put the time, the due diligence in on every single tool. So by diversifying and trying to get a lot of different things in your same location, and providing all of those means that the same education, the same awareness, the same everything is happening on each of your different tools. So now, instead of putting in 50 hours of awareness education on Neuroptimal, now all of a sudden you're putting in 50 hours on not only Neuroptimal, but on the float tank and on the hyperbaric chamber and on, you know, all these different things. So when you diversify in that way, you now have forgotten Neuroptimal all along. Because remember what I said, you have to do education, awareness, and keep going with your own clients at the same time. So by the time you do that in one area and you try to go off and into another area, you've lost everybody with Neuroptimal. You're no longer doing the awareness and the education and everything that you need to for the first one. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you do not diversify in that way. You know, in business, one of the little stories that people always tell is about the hunter that went out after a deer. And I'm not a hunter, and I don't like killing Bambi at all, but I'm going to tell the story. So the idea is that this person goes out, they find this big old buck, and they go after him. And they're just about getting ready to shoot when they see off to the side, oh my gosh, look at that one. That one's a whole lot bigger. And so they start to go off after the other one. Well, when they go off after the other one, they find that they lost that one, but there's a doe right there. We better grab her while we're here. So they start to go for that one when here comes another buck, and they go over to that one. Well, finally, they have diversified so many times, diverted their attention so many times, that they now no longer are able to get a deer at all. They've lost the opportunity entirely. They just didn't get anything. So it's really, really, really important that you not only go with the one you've got, that one has to be successful. They say for anywhere from, what is it, Mark? It's like a year to 3 years or something before you should start to introduce or do something different in business. So it's really, it just is a very, there's a path to it. There's got to be a reason
Well,
to it, an intent, and
And I don't think you can set a true expectation of, I can't consider anything else for 36 months or 18 months or something
Yeah.
like that. But I think the moral to the story is focus on focusing on one thing and taking that to either success or failure, okay? But fully exploring that path before you jump on a different path. At least you've given yourself the best chance for success with the first one, because
Yeah.
constantly losing your focus and redirecting your focus can end up in
failure.
no success at all.
Yeah. So, but there are ways of growing without diversifying. And so we can do that in a couple of different ways. Now, we do have a group of people.
That was a picture of Lisa right there.
Yeah. For those of you who've never met me, here I am.
Oh, you had the
but I did have the
you had
costume
you
on.
had the webcam on a little bit ago. So
Oh,
she
yeah,
has
that's
her
right.
haircut since then.
And probably aged about 40 years, you think?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, so there is a group of people that really can help. These are our representatives. They've all been trained a little bit more than anyone else. They're out there. Mark and I have been representatives for, since the beginning of the representative program. So we've been around the block for a while. So we're also very happy to help you through this entire process. But there's a lot of different people, and they're all there and able and willing to do what needs to be done to help you with whether it's paperwork or trying to, mentor you through so that you can become successful. So I want to take one person in particular and kind of explain a little bit about this one person that really had decided, he just kind of had a dream, and his dream was to make a successful NeurOptimal program. So what he did was he used his mother, and he took his mother. This is one of those big fold out signs that he has in his office, and when he does presentations, he takes it. His mother was really literally on her deathbed with Alzheimer's, and he created a marketing, really, I think it was phenomenal, but a marketing plan called #AskSonia. Sonia was his mama's name. And what he did was he went through and he did like 35, 40 sessions with Sonia, and all of a sudden Sonia was sitting up. She was all of a sudden wanting to eat in her, out in the community room instead of in her bedroom. She was, asked to go outside. Then she started having friends come over and in her room. And, every single time he would go back, she was feeling so much better. She was not laying anymore. She still had some memory issues, but not anywhere near what she did have. So it really, and all he did was follow her. So it wasn't like he was telling people this is the results you're going to see if you use this with Alzheimer's. Instead, he just kept posting pictures. Ask Sonia says, and he would videotape her, and she would say, I did my session today and I'm loving it and I'm feeling so much better. And, she just would say what came to mind, and he would just post what came to mind. I mean, what she said. And then he would just, ask Sonia, meaning, do you have any questions for her? And people would start throwing out questions, and she would answer them to the best of her ability and so forth. That became kind of this marketing frenzy for him. And his office grew because he created this one kind of process. I mean, he just kind of did it on his own and used his mother as his marketing material. So that is one way that you can actually do it. Other people have created their marketing ploy in a different way, such as with animals. instead of doing it with individual people, they only did it with different animals, and little by little by little, that was their clientele. They became really pretty well known with vets, with all sorts of people, with using Neuroptimal on animals. And you know, just to kind of move into that little arena right now, just so that we can kind of talk about what an office looks like. Here's another person that has their animal up here. Now this animal is different, because this animal is an emotional support animal. So, and this is what we did in our offices as well, so that when someone came in, they were greeted by an emotional support animal. And for our animal, she's very small. I'll just very quickly show you her because she's sweet and adorable. And so she would just come in and sit on your lap and just kind of hang with you a little bit. Now, this little animal we adopted, she's deaf. She now is almost blind. Her name's Fergie. And so, you know, you can do a lot of different little things that will kind of get people interested in what you're doing, and they think of you as being something totally different than the next person who does Neuroptimal. So, you know, when you bring people in, kind of think about your office in that way. What can you do that's a little out of the ordinary, that's a little different than other people are doing? You know, here's somebody sitting in a nice relaxation chair. Maybe it's an anti-gravity chair, and he's probably just watching the screen. In this one, they've got the screen behind them, and the person is definitely in an anti-gravity chair, and they're just eyes closed, relaxing. You know, same with this one. But this is one of my guys, and so I had him playing a game because he's only 3 years old, and he was at the time we were using a different media player, so it would make an airplane go. And so we explored and experimented and did all sorts of fun stuff with our offices. But this was another way that we were able to get children involved, and in a totally different way. Now, for those of you who see a lot of children, another thing that I always did was I always had a basket full of goodies, and that basket was just all sorts of different activities and games and so forth. So every single time the child was ready to move on, you know, I'd have them kind of ring this bell and immediately take that toy away and give them a new one, and we would just go through. You know, it wasn't very long ever, no matter how affected the children were, it was never very long down the path before they would stay on that game or that toy for so much longer that what started as having, you know, literally 25, 30 games in a basket went down to having about 3. And it really, you know, 5 to 6 sessions later, their attention span was so much longer that we were able to stay with the game a lot longer. You know, here's another office where people are actually sitting at a table. It's sunny, it's, you know, filled with plants, and, you know, very, very, very different than some of the other dark rooms. Here's a European office that has this is their waiting area where they let people sit and wait before they go back and into a different process, or, you know, into their session. Before we do that, I do want to say that in our waiting area, we had a community meeting room, and we also had a big table like this. A lot of times I would take like 2 teenagers with 2 different systems and set them up across from each other. And then we could work on some social pragmatics at the same time, you know, social skills and learning new games and how to talk to each other and all that at the same time that they were hooked up. So that was kind of a fun way of getting teenagers particularly involved. Okay, a brain party. A brain party is a great way to increase the number of clients that you have. So typically for brain parties, what we do is, it really is an educational it really is a marketing program. It really is, you're coming in just to learn about Neuroptimal. So you can do this in a couple of different ways. You can invite, you know, a handful of people that you know have something in common. They're all therapists, they're all educators, they're all, you know, they all play golf, they all are, you know, whatever. Or you can do it to where you have one friend and you tell the one friend, hey, you know, I know you're interested in Neuroptimal. I'm happy to give you 20 sessions or whatever towards your process. If you would invite 4, 5, 6 people, maybe even 10 people together, and we'll have a brain party. So now you're not really doing the work, somebody else is doing the work, but you are also, they're working off the idea of doing their sessions with you. So all they have to do is get in a group of people for you. Now, these can be people from their church, they can be people from their school, they can be people wherever, however they want to get those people in there. During that time, you have some choices. You can either just have some brain food and invite everybody in and you know, then go through the Neuroptimal process. You could go ahead and use that getting to know NO as a way of exploring the right before you do a demonstration of Neuroptimal. And you could also go ahead and create some brain games. So you could have up on the wall some visual processing, or you could have, you know, some perception type games, or, you know, can you see the woman dance? And, you know, when you stare at her, can you, you know, those kinds of things. And then you can talk a little bit about the brain. You could even bring in a guest speaker on nutrition, or on, you know, depending on what group you have, maybe you bring somebody else in who's going to talk about, you know, brain function, or, you know, whatever you, however you would like to do it. And then you end up with either doing demonstrations, or everyone who's there is able to have a session, and you just hook people up. If you have more systems, that's kind of helpful if you have a very large group of people. But that's a really, really, really good way of doing it. This is the Japanese brain party in action. So what they did was they brought people in. They're listening to a guest speaker. She went through and did the getting to know NO process. And then after she was finished with that, she went through and let every single person have a full 33-minute session. Now, she had several systems, but that's exactly what she did. Now, the way it worked out for her was that she had a PhD that came in and talked about food, and another one who talked about the holographic theory and about Carl Pribram, which is why and how our neurooptimal system works. So, and then she gave away brain snacks for people to have. She said the first time she ever did a party, that she had 12 people that came into her office. 4 of them was the first time they'd ever been to her office before. 1 of them had already purchased a personal system, and 7 of them were clients of hers already that just really came in because they wanted a free session. So it turned out that, you know, she spent, you know, a few hours going through the whole process, but with that, she got 2 new clients, first thing, and she ended up selling a system. So that was her very, very, very first time she ever did a brain party. She now does them monthly, and she's, you know, she's very successful with it. She's always either selling a system or bringing people in for sessions. So it's really kind of a cool way, you know, to get out there, get your name out there, get involved with it. We talked about presentations and conferences and workshops and things like that. Again, we're happy to give you the Getting to Know NO presentation, which you're welcome to use anywhere. You're also welcome to use the new user orientation. That's really just the nitty-gritty of how you actually run a session. And so if you're working with people that are therapists or professionals, and they want more than just the Getting to Know NO, because that's a pretty general type thing, then you could really do the new user orientation with them, and then do demonstrations afterwards and let them, you know, see what it's about and hear more about it and so forth. All right, conferences and presentations. You know, again, this is an awesome way of doing awareness and education. You can set it up to where you've got those anti-gravity chairs, and they are, you know, you're just kind of setting them up. Most of the time when we've done that, we've done at least 2, if not 3 anti-gravity chairs and had 2 or 3 systems set up so that people can run full demo sessions at the same time that their conference and or whatever workshops going on. And then we always had 2 or 3 of them out on the main table so that we could share with people what the system looks like, what it's about. We can talk to them. You know, we just took these people up and left them and then come back here and start talking about it again. So it's an easy way to share it. I can tell you, very rarely do you get people to sign up for sessions this way. You might get a rental, you might get a sale, but rarely, because most people are coming in from out of town, or, you know, they're here to learn more, but they're not here to really come in and start taking sessions with you.
It's great general education with maybe a little monetary upside, but and a lot of work.
It is.
It's exhausting.
But, you know, it's incredible how many people are told that, you know, your name is given out then. I mean, it is just it's invaluable marketing tool. I don't know how to tell you how important it is to do these kinds of things. You can do this at a trade show. You can do this at annual conferences like speech and language therapy conferences or trauma. We've done it at a trauma focused conference in San Francisco. You know, you can just do them all over the place, gaming conferences, whatever. So if it is a large conference, if it's a big trade show or something, Neuro-Optimal will provide even systems, but they'll provide these kinds of things for your booth, you know, these big old things. If it's a very small one, more than likely they won't. But it makes it really, really, really nice because, you know, when you do your marketing, you really can have them kind of help out a little bit, and they're happy to do that, because they know you're really, when you do those trade shows, you're really supporting just Neuro-Optimal and awareness. So, okay, do we have any questions we need to go over here?
No, I just noticed somebody dropped out and they're back on, so I'm just sitting there.
Okay, it looks like there is a question here. Do I need to?
Yeah, that's kind of an in-depth one. I think we need to cover that.
Okay.
And I think if you just do a couple more slides, then I think it's break time.
Okay, because we're really kind of getting into a new topic, a new subject. Do we want to take a break just real quick right now?
Well, this subject is only 3 slides.
Okay.
So why don't you carry on with that, and then we'll come back and finish up the rest of the day.
All right. So, Code of Ethics. You know, Neuro-Optimal is a training program. It is not a treatment program. So without being a treatment program, it's not as though we have a governing body that is telling us what our code of ethics is. But I'm going to tell you that without your office having a code of ethics, you're going to have a difficult time succeeding. You know, one of the biggest things we need to be able to share with people is building trust. It's listening to their most innermost, intimate details of their life. We don't have to listen to it. You know, Mark and I always had something that we asked them to sign when they first came in to that new consultation that said that they understood that even though I am a neuropsychologist, I'm not using this process in a treatment model, and therefore they do not have to say a word to me. I'm not their therapist. I'm not their coach. I'm not anything that requires them to tell me anything. That this process will work whether I know anything or not. Almost inevitably, they would tell me anyway, but I always asked for that. I always gave them the trust that they never had to tell me anything. When I listened to their needs, normally what I would say is, if you would like to tell me your story, what I'd like to do is to videotape it. And it's not, I will destroy it immediately should you decide you do not want to go on with this process. But what I would like to do is to tape record it so that if you do go on with this process, we can go back and revisit your posture, your speech, everything, as we start looking for changes that are sometimes very subtle. And I just would tell them this up front. And then at that point, of course, they'd go ahead and sign and the confidentiality thing, and we would go ahead and listen to their story. So as we listen to their story, you know, mostly I just listened. I just was very attentive and tried to hear what they were saying. So as I heard their story though, then what I would do is when it came time for me to go through that flip folder, I would always go back to something they told me, you know? So when you're talking about sleep, as this starts to work for you, your body will start to kind of have an internal balance to where your sleep patterns might change. They may be different. And I don't know how long it will take for that to happen, but you might see that that balancing point in your brain starts to make things shift for you. And so I would just kind of explain the process a little bit more, but personalizing it to what they just told me every single time. So, and at that point, you know, should somebody come back with, I don't understand how this works, it was easy for me to say, you know, because it's a mathematical process, I'm not really that great at math. So I'm going to tell you, I don't know. I can't explain all the details of how this works either. What I can tell you, though, is that it is imitating the central nervous system and the way it communicates. So, you know, I would have them kind of buy off on the things that I was very comfortable talking about and helping them understand in a way that, again, through metaphors and analogies and all of that, that they could relate to it. But then I also had to help them find value in the program. It's expensive, right? I mean, it's a costly program. And so from my standpoint, and I truly believe this, is that if you have a feeling that your internal system is not working accurately, you need help. And you go out and you try to find that anywhere. The medical field will provide medication. The wellness field will provide a variety of different things, you know, whether it's massage, whether it's floats, whether it's, you know, nutrition, whether it's whatever. This is another process like that. It's a way for you to help yourself. And that's exactly the way I always described it. It's just a way for you to help yourself. It's not something you have to do, but it's something a lot of people find benefit from doing. So this system always was able to create comfort for me, for my daughter, for my son, for my husband, and you know, and I would kind of personalize it that way and allow people to know. You know, for the longest time, I always felt so embarrassed about my auditory processing problems and, you know, didn't want anybody to notice. And then I thought, you know what? Everybody notices anyway. Instead, they see me, you know, hem-hawing over a word and I can't find the word. And it's easier if they just know up front that I have some dyslexia. And man, do I ever have some auditory processing problems. You know, and it's not to make anybody feel like, oh my God, how'd she survive and how's she doing what she's doing? Instead, it's to give people hope that they don't have to struggle. You know, as long as I do my system and my process and I'm still kind of actively mentally aware of what's going on, then I don't have the issues that I had before. So I'm comfortable, I'm excited about it. It helps me a lot. And so that to me is what I have to help people understand. And this was the time when I do that. I would relate to their story. That was building trust. How do I know this is going to work? I know it's going to work because it's worked for me. It continues to work for me. I have to use it. And this is the benefits that I personally get from it. Now, we do have this little FDA thing going on. FDA says that we cannot market and we cannot promise So we're not marketing that sleep will change when you do this process. We're not marketing that all of a sudden you're going to be able to hear better because your auditory processing problems will go away. This is why when you talk about things that are happening with this program and why it has worked, you either talk from personal experience, this is what happened with me, or if you're going to use that survey, you legally can say, of all of the people that were asked, you know, 3/4 of the people found that when they worked with people with migraine, it took anywhere from, you know, 7 to 30 sessions. Now, to be very honest, you might not take 7. To be very honest, you might take far more than 30. This is just a ballpark for the people that are responding to it. It's not everybody who does Neuroptimal, but the people that responded in this way. So, you know, it gives people an idea, but we're not promising anything. You're not saying that if you have dystonia, this is what is going to happen. You know, this is what happened to everybody else, therefore it's going to happen to you. Nor are you trying to sell a system or market the system because you know it helps with tinnitus. That's not what we can do. But we are allowed to speak from personal experience. And as an end user, which all of you are, you can use almost anything. You're allowed to do a lot. Those of us that are representatives and instructors are what we call agents. And we're not allowed to, there's a lot of things we're not allowed to do or say because we're really speaking the voice of Neuroptimal. So if I were you, whether you're a therapist, whatever your background is, I would stay as close to FDA proofed as possible. We have a cheat sheet on the website. I would download it. It's also in the community Facebook page and the files section. I download it. I keep it as close to your heart as you can. I would say what you can say, try to dodge what you can't say, and then just practice the heck out of it. Just keep talking to people, get out there and feel comfortable about your experiences with it and be passionate about what has happened for you. So, you know, the cost of health is kind of expensive, but personally, what I wouldn't give to have no more migraines or, you know, no more auditory processing.
The cost of illness is even more.
The cost of illness is a whole lot more. You know, I could never, ever, ever have succeeded doing what I'm doing. Therefore, any of my offices has succeeded if I hadn't had this process, this Neuroptimal system. So, with that, I now have permission to take a break. I've talked long enough that we can take a break.
I have to start talking after break, so this is a perfect time.